the Soul to Scene podcast, episode 21. I'm Andy Cooper from RMS Motoring, and today I'm joined by Ross Annett.
What's happening?
And Gary Riley.
Not a lot.
Not a lot indeed. Look, we've just back from our short hiatus, having kids and holidays and all that jazz, and we're straight back into it. We've had plenty of things to cover in the show today, but of course the internet kicked in, and did anyone see what the cop car did in Lisburn today? Absolutely unbelievable. If you haven't seen this, there is a video knocking about. It popped into my WhatsApp inbox, and I think the same with yourselves earlier on today. Mm-hmm. Police car flying down the Longstone Street in Lisburn and narrowly misses what we think is a Dacia Duster perhaps.
Something like that, yeah.
And flies into the front door of a Spar. Narrowly missing a girl in the foyer and large amounts of Fanta as well. So pop the video on there, Gary. When it shows there, we'll talk you through it. We'll see if we can get the video in the show notes here. But of course, CCTV everywhere now. You can't go anywhere. There's the CCTV out. This has happened today. The CCTV is out from
straight in the front door.
Like cop car must have been on the anchors. He's probably doing about 60 miles an hour before he mounted the curb there.
He must have fairly paddled because those are bollards. The anti-ram, anti-security bollards. See lifts there.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
You
can see that the flashers are still going in the car.
The guy in what we think is the Dacia, and please correct us in the comments if it's not a Dacia, but we think it is, and he's going to pull across the traffic. The cop car's coming at full beans, and the cop has to put the anchors on and move out of the way and straight into the front door of the Spar.
It's just very unfortunate PR for the police. It could be in any car, but when it's the police car,
I know
there'll be memes and all the usual,
as you were saying earlier, they were asking for witnesses. Like, what else? What else?
They're pleading for witnesses, but I don't know about the two drivers of the car.
What else do they need to see? But hairy enough. Like, obviously, he was like, well, what do I do? Do I stove into the Jeep, or do I try and abandon it somewhere else here? And you see in the interior shot in the Spar, like there was a girl. She was 10 feet from the front end of.
And she saw it coming too. She got a bit of a fright.
Oh, she did get a fright. It's a Seat. What is that? A Seat something estate? Leon? No. What do they call those?
Yeah, those are the.
Yeah, it's a Seat.
I don't know. Is it a Leon?
No,
Altea. Is it?
Maybe.
But
it's hard to tell if they place graphics on. You can never recognise them.
No, they're. Look at you looking them up on the phone.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
I'm waiting for the inevitable interview.
I've got enough for this. You'll now be telling us what it failed its last MOT on as well.
I'm waiting for the inevitable interview on BBC or ITV, and some guy will be going.
Who said say it, Leon?
I say it was a guy in the police car did
Leon
the damage.
State. Aye, there we go. Is it
Leon
Cooper?
SE Dynamic TDI?
What's a Derv?
All 147.5 brake horsepower.
Launched through the front of a Spar in Lisburn. So. What a start to the show. That was a bit of spectacular action. Loads more stuff to talk about. I have all the things to tell you, because last week I was at the Morgan factory, which was a pretty awesome day. So I'm a big fan of the Sniff and Smith podcast, and about 2 months ago the tickets come out on sale. I subscribed to them on Patreon, got the tickets, and 20 quid ticket, and I was like,
hang on. Did you hear that? He subscribes to something on Patreon.
£1 a month. £1 a month. We should do it for this here. Fantastic idea. We'll make millions.
Is this why I read recently Patreon are sacking loads of staff and downsizing?
No, are they?
Your measly contribution.
Well, but this is the thing. This is like a sunk cost thing. So got the ticket because I knew the tickets would fly out the door when they went on general release, which they did. And then I was like, well, I have a newborn at home. I have no chance of going. So like literally on the Monday before, it was a week and a half ago, but the Monday before the podcast recording on the Thursday, I thought, frig it, will I go? And it was at the Morgan factory in Malvern on a Thursday evening. So then I just said, frig it, I'm going to go. So booked my flights, hotel at the airport. There's an overnight job, car hire, all the rest, and fired off to the Morgan factory. Landed in, got a bite to eat, and I had been in touch with the press office, and they said, well, look, you're coming over, should I like to look at one of our cars? And I was like, fantastic.
Wow.
So went and did the factory tour, which, by the way, go and see it. Those cars are aluminium bonded chassis with a wood frame and then aluminium panels bolted to it. It's absolutely first class, all built by hand.
What are they still making? They've got the freewheeler, the new one that came out. They've got the Aero. Is that still?
Super 3. No, they don't do the Aero anymore, but they do the Plus 4 and the Plus 6.
Right.
So they used to be like a steel chassis with a body on top of it, like a Land Rover or something like that, like really heavy and old school. And then about 3 years ago, they changed to Lotus style bonded aluminium chassis with a bit of wood on it and then more aluminium, so they're super light now.
Wow.
And then BMW engines, so you can get a 4-cylinder like out of a M128 or 128 Ti or something like that there. Or
Yeah, they've always had that. The Aero had
It was the Aero 8 had
the V8, but it wasn't the M5 one.
E39. Was it not the M5 engine?
No, I think it was a 4-litre. Maybe the 540 engine or something like that there. But I think BMW are always quite kind of protective of the M engines.
Okay.
They don't tend to let them use that, but they'll give you the next one down and let you tune it up.
Funnily enough, so that's exactly what they have now. So that the B48 and the B58, so the B58 out of a M140i or M240 or something like that. But so what I was out in was the Plus 4, which is 255 brake. Only weighs a ton.
Wow.
And like looks like something that would be sitting in front of Downton. You know what I mean? And top down and all the rest. And it was fabulous. It was an oldie worldy driving experience, even despite it had all the new running gear and all the rest. It was still
got sort of the wood trim and stuff on it.
Yeah,
Brennan would love it.
Absolute work of art. So it was, and just hand stitched everything and the smell of everything. It was just wonderful. So I did the factory tour, and I just want to see guys. I was absolutely mesmerised by like standing watching the guy, and he was panel beating the bonnet. It splits in the middle, and then he got the grinder out, and he starts grinding and shaping the louvers in the bonnet and all just by hand. It was so impressive. Yeah. So impressive.
It's a real coach building art, isn't it? When so many cars now are built for robotics and factories, and they're all seamless, but
totally.
You sort of go, well, that's maybe not the most efficient way, but then when you buy it, you have more character investment in it, and
totally
a human hand has built it.
And I think like that was a brand that that wasn't really something I was really on my radar until I went over. Then I can understand if you get someone into the factory and they see it, and you really bond with it. It's like gives you a sort of organic experience, and then out in the road. The only thing I will say is, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I'm now in my 40s. I'm maybe still a wee bit too young for a Morgan, but I can understand the appeal for
the appeal of them, yeah.
And they're like a second or third car. No one's ever going to commute to work in a Morgan or anything like that. They are a special occasion.
What's the sort of price tag on them, do you know?
So the Plus 4 is about 65k for the 255 brake, and then the Plus 6 with a B58 6-cylinder is about 80. You can get it with a ZF as well. Either of them you get it with a ZF Auto as well.
So they're not huge money, for what they are for a hand-built piece of art.
Well, look, we'll probably come to this later in the show. We'll probably talk about it all the time. But when the new shape car came out in 2019, they were mid-40s. So that is how much the price has risen because of Ukraine and everything. Parts shortage.
But even so, as Ross says, for such a bespoke kind of car, it's not insane money.
No.
Because you see all these retro mod ones now, or resto mods being built and stuff like that there, and they're all 300 grand, 400 grand.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Oh, well, how much is an Alphaholics GTA? Like it's, hundreds of thousands. How much is a Singer? 7 figures,
But the Morgan's very specific. It's definitely a kind of car, when you're at that stage of life, you're going to put on your driving gloves and your cap and go out in that kind of car.
I tell you what, it's the sort of thing too.
Lions on a Sunday drive.
Totally. You would just park. It's just something that you go out and look at.
They are beautiful. There's no doubt about it. Like they're a stunning car. But as you said, it'd be a second or third car.
Yeah. But so my day was just a petrol head's dream. So it was all booked very last. Like within a few days of I'm not going to go to. I just lost the run on myself and went and booked everything. Did the tour and then met Richard Porter and Johnny Smith, who are two brilliant guys, and chatting away to them because they were actually on RMS because they were researching
You were saying this, yeah.
They were researching the Bananarama Mark 1 Golf GTI.
Wow.
So, what was the song in the mid 80s that was for
Why are you looking
Africa?
at me?
I know that all the celebrities were recording. Oh.
What's Live Aid?
Live Aid, right? Oh. So there's the music video for Live Aid, right? And there's all the stars in it. You know, there's George Michael and there's everyone else. And Bananarama arrive in a Mark 1 Golf. And Mark Irwin in RMS thought he had that car, so there's a whole thread about it.
Wow!
But it's not. It's not actually that car. But they had, so it was a great icebreaker to go and chat to those guys about awesome. It. So I met them. Then I was throwing the keys of the +4, so I was out from the road for 2.5 hours. So I have a video done. So I took a GoPro with me. Thankfully, I had it in the bag. A video done, a bit of a review on that, and then came back and sat and watched a live podcast, and then up and then home early doors the next morning. So that was unbelievable. But I have done more. We should have had a podcast long before this. I'm going to torture you all. I feel like I'm like Chorley FM coming in your ears. So not only that, Supercar Sunday, which we were at.
Yeah.
But so I took the Yaris down to it. Landed down, got thrown the keys of an SF90.
You didn't tell me that now.
No, and so I was out lapping the SF90. Yeah.
Wow.
Do you know what? Having driven a few, very very lucky that someone is foolish enough to give me the keys. But to drive one on track and
I'd say even after the 812 Superfast that you ran, that must be an experience.
I have total respect. They are out and out drivers' cars. You know, they're not show ponies.
Yeah, it's not just
it's
a straight line kind of demons.
Yeah, unbelievable. I was just the performance in those things. They're 1,000 horse. You know, so they're 800 brake,
and the electric,
and then and then the electric powertrain on top of that. So instant power.
Talk dirty to us. Tell us about it now.
Oh, it was the performance was staggering. Like nothing out there. You know, there was tuned GTRs and stuff like that there. You know, and they were just what was it the Americans call it, gapping people. And like I could have been 10 car lengths behind someone, and by the time I was in the next corner, I was 10 car lengths in front of them. You know, in the start finish straight.
Bonkers.
Yeah. So like I was doing 160 something on the start finish straight.
You get that stage where you wonder how much faster can you go, and then you think a Chiron has another 700 horsepower on top of that.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Here's the now. It was very very. I couldn't get it over how drivable it was. It took me a couple of laps to get a feel for it. You know, because they are quite different. All the controls are on the steering wheel, and then you have qualifying mode and race mode, and very intelligent traction control systems.
Are they rear wheel drive or all wheel drive? Or?
Rear wheel drive.
Rear wheel drive. And it's a lot of power going to the back.
And I think that because I turned everything off at the end of my run, and we blackened a few corners as well, so it has a diff. I know that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it was just
probably a super clever electronic diff.
Yeah, but it was just unbelievable, and the sound of it. And
well, it's funny you say the sound of it. So where I was selling, my stall was right at the side of the pits, or the other side of the track where people were getting in and out at the entrance gate, and there was a few cars went past, and they were whisper quiet.
It's GPFs and all this modern
the
stuff.
SF90 had a note to it. There's a few guys. There's another car club down there. They're like Apex North, they call themselves, and it's really cool. There's like a load of them go out and travel together. And there's your big guy Glenn. He has all the stickered up, livered up Porsche, the Cayenne. So he was going past, so you could really hear it. There was a wee guy Carl in his M140i, and it sounded fantastic. There was another guy in them too, but all these supercars going past and no note out of them whatsoever. And then, as I said, you saw the SF90 coming, and it was just ballistic how fast it was going down, because we were obviously in the start finish straight there. And as you said, that gapping thing, but there was a lovely note out of it, whereas there was Lamborghinis, there was the McLarens, and it was awful just how quiet they were. Like I'd be pissed off if I had spent that kind of money on a car and there was just so little note to it.
And it's just they're just strangled by regulations.
They're just totally throttling.
Here's some stats, right? And I love the stats. And I always remember the stat about the 812 Superfast. It did 170 in 17 seconds. Now the SF90 in 4.4 seconds does not do 100.
Jesus.
And quarter mile out of the box, 9.5 seconds, 148 mile an hour.
That's impressive.
Not to 150 in 9.8 seconds.
That's frightening.
Isn't that just staggering?
Just for comparison's sake, let's load up Chiron stats.
Now,
I just want to see.
amount of, like, especially the sports cars that I've bought, like the GT4 and the Lotus, I sort of think those cars are so capable. Like, it takes me a lot to learn them. And, you know, you need to be doing a lot of track time to really, you know, I should be keeping those cars years and years and years to try and get the value, you know, to get to learn them. Something like that. Oh, like, you have to be, you know, like an Ayrton Senna job, you know.
Well, that was one of the things. So I've never driven something as fast as that, and especially not around the track. How snappy are they, Andy? You know, was there any scary moments? Even though you're not pushing it to 10 tenths, you're in somebody else's car, but you know, when you're well in triple figures, you know, when it snaps, or did it snap? So
I remember the 812. I felt was a very knife edge car. I thought this on the track was. I felt totally confident in it. It just inspired confidence. It was. I'll not say it's easy to drive, but I found it straightforward. Like, once I started got into the groove of it, I thought it was just like, this thing is just making me go faster and faster, and like just drawing me in.
So what did you say did a quarter mile in?
9.5.
So a Bugatti Chiron does 9.4, but a Chiron costs almost 3 million.
There's some people screaming
and
at home.
And these cost 375,000.
Screaming at home, going to tell us how fast the Model S Ludicrous does it in. What or the Plaid?
The Plaid.
What's the
or
Plaid?
A Stage 9 GTR.
Aye, exactly. Yeah.
320D with a Ricky map.
It's crazy power, but you know, even though it's 600 breakdown on the likes of a Bugatti, it just shows you how much value you're getting for the money. Even though, like, it's beyond the realms of most mere mortals still to afford. So at almost 400,000. So
the Plaid is just under 9 seconds, 8.834, allegedly. But
for the quarter mile, holy shit!
But you get all the drama of the SF90.
Oh, and so
the noise and
so much more. The engagement level was just off the charts. And as I say, then we got it moving, got everything off and moving around a bit. And it's so handy in a Ferrari too. You just have the Manatino and you just click it round, and that's it off, and away you go.
I thought they were beautiful looking cars. You know, there's so many of the Ferraris nowadays are kind of like generic male looking cars. You know, they're all like, you know, a slight tweak here, and then the SF90 was just like, it was
incredible. Sexy. But they are like, they look at them, they're hardcore carbon. So not only you've got carbon brakes, but carbon wheels. You know, like the McGann Trophy or whatever they did. But like, just I was like, carbon wheels. Oh my god, I need to keep off these curbs. Was I keeping off the curbs? No. And then I took the Yaris out as well, and I had super pants in it as well. But I'm sure it sounded like a Hoover going past because it's super quiet.
No, do you know something? There was another guy in RMS came and asked me, "What have you done to your car?" Because there was a note out of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Next time we're on track, I'll take the Yaris for a drive.
No problem. I'll take the M3 out. Acceleration sounds. We all love an acceleration sounds video, and it's a down art between GPFs and EVs. We're supposed to be linked to. We need to get some. Unfortunately, that's not much of a.
Let's go to the Chris Harris one because he's going to be giving it the beans.
Yeah. So Gary's just trolling through
a bit of driving.
YouTube. Where is he?
That's it. Get your head around this lot.
Yeah. It's interesting as well. Like not only are the cars getting quieter, but the engines are getting smaller too. So. Yeah. Ferraris, the 296 GTB, McLaren, the Artura, all gone V6 rather than 8-cylinder. But
I love Harris.
Yeah.
You're talking about the engines.
Good looking car.
It's beautiful. Ferrari, this new SUV thing they're doing.
The Purosangue, yeah.
Purosangue. I know Gary's going to speak about it later on. It's the only V12 Ferrari you can still buy.
NA, yeah. And I think that's a limited. I think it'll go V6 hybrid, V8, that sort of stuff.
No doubt about it.
So
everything's going smaller engines.
V12s are such nice engines. Just not just for capacity's sake and, you know, the torque and the breadth that they have, but they've got a refinement that you don't get in a V10 or V8.
I must actually see, can I get the V12 engine sound for my van? Gary got to hear my van earlier on.
Oh, the
With the
Bluetooth
V8.
speakers
Oh
is
yeah,
brilliant.
it's Bluetooth
So I'm
speakers.
going to have to see, can I download a V12 engine sound for it next?
Well,
They're so smooth. That's the thing about the V12. So just like we've been out in the 850 CSI a few times, and I've been in a few other V12s, and I think there was the famous video of somebody balancing a 50p coin on the V12 that BMW made, and revving the engine, and the coin doesn't fall over. Mm-hmm. That's how well balanced it was.
or how much super glue you used.
Look at that.
I absolutely, one of my favourite all-time cars is the 850 CSI that you've taken me out in many times over the years, and it's
Not for a while, sadly.
well,
but-
not for a while.
Yeah.
No, we need to get
Have
that,
to get that on the road again.
Absolutely.
They're
What?
honestly, they're one of the nicest shapes of cars ever. There's just something about them. I think they're beautiful. There's a girl from here, Northern Ireland, Abby Higgins, her name is, and she's done Black Line had done her 850, and it's the air suspension on it and the spaced out. I think the BBS wheels have been stretched up to like 18 or 19 inches. It's absolutely stunning, lovely
Class.
One of the first cars, I think, are mass production ones. At least they have the windowless pillars,
Yeah.
and then the whole profile really smooth on the side, which helped a lot.
Yeah, it's so timeless. And as the CSI, it has like the throwing star wheels and all on it, doesn't it? Or no,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, it
one's
had
obviously
different wheels, and then it had the E46 M3 style mirrors and
Yeah.
a few other bits and pieces.
Oh, just first class. So, bad news. I'm going to continue to annoy. So
I'm just seeing the next show note, and I think that's even more exciting. This one here.
I'm just wondering how you did any work over the last few weeks reading these notes.
So yeah, you would wonder how I squeezed in looking after a Bab with all this, because not only was at Smith and Smith, was driving a Morgan in the SF90 around Bishop's Court, but I was also out on the road in an MC20 Maserati.
Wow.
Absolutely, a totally different driving experience to the Ferrari. Beautiful noise and a lot rawer. I suppose maybe not just the same refinement as the Ferrari, but loads more character, a more characterful road car, I suppose I would say.
Was it the MC20 that Warren was talking about in one of our last podcasts? I'm not sure. Did he talk about if he was ever going to go back?
Yeah,
to
I think you mentioned it.
It's the one that would kind of sway him.
So what was interesting about MC20, number one, what a beautiful, the one that I was in had the full like carbon kit, and those cars are just dressed in carbon. They're a carbon tub and all.
They're
Again,
stunning looking, like ever from ever from the first photo that I saw one. I just thought like they really nailed the styling on this.
And what I actually liked, it was good news in a way, because it is one of the V6, I presume it's twin turbo as well, like I was saying about the Artura and the 296 GTB, but it sounded absolutely fabulous. And turbocharging as well. Like, we're all of the age where that sort of early 2000s, Subarus, Evos, Silvias, turbos and whooshes and
turbo lagging.
yeah, it had all that drama and beautiful noise, and then just and sounded fabulous. Went like incredibly well. I think they're
When you look at that photo, that one I just put up, the blue one, you can definitely see a bit of Amira.
Yeah.
Or Lotus have taken a few hints from that. I think there's something in the side profile.
The car
That's not a bad thing. It's it's
the
a really
car, not
well
to be
styled
mentioned, it still hasn't fucking arrived. So I've been driving every other sinner's wagon, but the MC20 was just something a bit different. I think it's the only Maserati supercar in like 3 or 4 decades, isn't it?
It's been a while. What's the last one they had? Was that?
Well, the Gran Turismo stuff, but that
the Gran Turismo, which
it's more a coupe. It wasn't
it's a
really a
coupe.
supercar.
They had a Ferrari engine, didn't they? They sound really good, and
Yeah.
I've seen around the road. But no, the MC20 is the first proper one that's brought out for a while.
So just a work of art.
The only thing that's down is the name. I think Italian supercar deserves a proper name. That sounds like a London DJ.
Mix 20.
Yeah, you think it should be called like Fandango flipping.
It's a kind of arty-farty,
Fandango Trofeo or something like that.
Flying Wind or something.
So, yeah, that was also incredible. But what else? I tell you one thing that I would love to get a drive in. And I haven't. Someone in our mess, we were talking about questions about what do you want to ask the podcast, and someone said, "Oh, talk about classic or Japanese cars that we all love." And I don't know if we'll have time today to do that, but then I was reading Evo magazine about, you see the new Civic Type R that's
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
the latest generation, and they've sort of toned down the craziness. So it sort of went Halfords Plus for a while.
And that's slated big time.
Yeah, apparently an amazing, fantastic driver's car, but just something that, even more garish than a RS Focus or something like that.
It continually tops all these polls, of the best front-wheel drive car out at the moment, or even the best hatch out at the moment. But the styling is always a thing that draws people back. But probably like the new M3 got criticised for the grille, despite how good it is.
Yeah. At least they're bringing out a state car. That's really exciting.
But yeah, Honda seem to have rectified this to a certain degree.
Yeah, the new car will stick a picture up on in the show thread, because it looks fantastic. But I haven't driven anything else apart from that. I haven't got my bloody Lotus yet. I've been torturing myself. I did go to a few other things. I did go to the last RMS Cars and Coffee. That was great. I think those are now possibly postponed to the new year, although I believe Pete is offering his services for some Cars and Coffee down at PMG. So keep an eye on the forum for that. I tell you what else I want to drive. You're going to laugh at this. It is Chinese, electric, an MG4. Mm-hmm. They are getting great reviews as an absolute budget EV. Although unfortunately, budget is starting at 25 grand, which is
by today's standards, that's budget.
Yeah, exactly. By today's standards, it's great. So I've been talking to MG about getting hold of one of those. So yeah, that's been my since we last spoke. I'm sure there's other stuff.
Yeah, it's been a busy month. You've been all around.
I've been out and about.
About the only place you haven't been as a Spar in Lisburn, which was a good thing.
No, it was good. At least I know where, if anyone runs out of Fanta Orange, where to get it. Yeah. What about you guys? So, Gary, tell us about this. Speaking of cars we can't afford, this Puro, is it Puro Sang?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I googled it, I looked it up on YouTube, I read it in the magazine, and everyone's saying something different. I was going to try and get in touch with someone from Ferrari and Attaway just to confirm it, but
it sounds like some
don't
sort
have
of
your kind of powers, Andy.
So it sounds like some sort of
Puro Sangue, Puro
fizzy drink, doesn't it?
Something like that.
If you've watched the Carwow thread, it means thoroughbred or purebred.
Okay. There we go, Mr. Trent.
I'm going to go with Puro Sangue because it kind of sounds smoother.
Yeah, so we were saying there, last of the Ferrari V12s.
Well, that's the V12s, also the first of SUVs, I suppose, as far as Ferrari goes. But it was only a matter of time because all the supercar makers are doing it now. It's probably giving them the financial clout to make other models, because SUVs seem to outsell everything 10-1 as soon as they bring them out. Like both the Lamborghini SUV came out and the Bentley one, I think, have been runaway sales successes, and they're outselling their other models 10-1, something like that there. So yeah, so the Ferrari Puro Sangue is 6.5 V12, 715 horsepower, 124 in 10.5 seconds.
That's lethal.
Yep. And around £350,000, give or take.
Shit. Can you imagine how good that V12 would sound like?
Oh, screaming.
Imagine lifting the kids and just like a
few blips at the gate.
all four tubes lit to a V12 soundtrack. Absolutely incredible, but incredible money too.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, but again, it's a Ferrari, it's an SUV, it's going to have a very unique appeal just for that, because they haven't done it before.
I've been very vocal about the fact that it's not an SUV, although it is, because
it looks like one, although they don't classify it as one.
It walks like a duck and quacks like a duck.
Yeah,
it's a people carrier. It's a Fiat Multipla.
It's quite a good looking car, even though it's quite big and not your typical Ferrari, but it's got, is that suicide doors or bullet doors or whatever? Suicide doors. And the styling's just very reminiscent of recent Ferraris, the headlights and the taillights and things like that there.
This is definitely an age or position in life thing, but people are probably listening and go, right, they're talking about supercars, boring, can't afford supercars. They're now talking about bloody SUVs. At least they're not talking about EVs, but
Yeah.
I tell you what, see, when I have a wee one, I was looking at, I was saying this in our message, I was finding myself looking at Range Rovers and all sorts of stuff for like, right, what can I cart the wean and the dog and all, and you have to think of these
I know
practicalities.
that the RMS argument all the time is you don't need an SUV, you don't need an X5. I've had SUVs for the last 10, 12, 13 years. I love them. See having something, a bit more space in it, you're sitting that wee bit higher up. Can you put more in the boot than you can in a state car? Probably not, but guess what? I don't give a shit because I love them, so do I. Pete, PMG, myself and a couple of others were down at Garth Brooks. We went down last Saturday and I drove down and Pete was sitting in the back and he used the electric seats and reclined himself back and he just turned around and he said that, what else would you need? I said, whilst we may or may not need SUVs, I love it.
Well, that's the thing, there's something for everyone, and SUVs serve a purpose. Just as you can't take a hard driving sports car out for every journey and take your family in it. And
this is, and funnily enough, I was thinking this, and then I hopped into the Yaris, and it's back roads from my door to here, and I was like, oh, I couldn't do this. And this car's just
there's a bump for every seat, and as much as you can push. My X5 is mapped around 460, 470 horsepower. It's ballistic for the size of it, and straight lines out there. It handles okay, but you go down a back road in your Yaris, and I try to follow you on it, and I don't even see what way you're going.
It's interesting, actually. I wonder if stuff like that, if the prices are finally starting to thaw. I think they are with some of the Range Rover stuff. I wonder, is the price of fuel maybe starting to make people think?
Yeah, like, again, we were down, Pete was saying, he loves his Tesla and that there, and he turned around and he said after he got out on Saturday night, he went Googling then what price are X5 M50Ds, because it really put in the notion of getting rid of the big Range Rover and getting one. And I goes, that's grand, but it was 155, 160 euros to fill it on Saturday, and that's good for 400 miles. That's brutal. About the height of it. It's brutal. And as nice as it might be, you're 150 quid a fill to do 400 and a bit miles.
What about the hybrid in them?
Well, funny. So Bavarian are on trying to let me know that I've got less than 6 months left on my lease, and we're really interested in putting you into something else. They have been looking at hybrid ones, but even at that, there it's waiting for a year and a half before they get something comes in. Over the 20, I think I've done 25,000 miles in it now in the last couple of years, and it's averaged about 25 miles to the gallon.
That's pretty good for...
It's not bad for the size of it. It's a 7-seater, and...
It's current generation M50D with the 4 turbos, isn't it?
4 turbos, and it's averaged 25 miles to the gallon over 25,000 miles.
That's unbelievable.
It does tow, every now and then I'll be towing a heavy enough load with it. It's got the air suspension. I said it's got the 7 seats, so when during the summer we took a few road trips out there, and the family of us, so there's 5 in the family, took a couple of nieces out there with us, so there was it was fully loaded up.
Class.
And there's still shopping around the back of it, so I'm certainly
takes a lot of boxes.
Takes a lot of boxes, and it's going to be a very, very hard car for me to, but they're trying to talk me into an X5 50i, the 5-litre petrol one. So
well, we've got the Puro Sanguine, whatever it's called, on screen here, and it is, it is pretty cool. They have got that coupe look about it.
It's quite rounded. It reminds me almost a bit of the Alfa Stelvio, the roof line. A lot of Jeeps nowadays are quite chunky looking and square.
But that's talking about chunky looking and square. I stopped off with Davey and Procar earlier on, and he is detailing one of those BMW iXs.
I was going to say it's enough. Why do you talk about Davey?
Well, he's nice and small and chunky and square, but have you seen the iXs yet?
That is a fairly brutal looking wagon, so it is.
Oh, it's not the prettiest.
If you go back to the... that is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, there's not a nice angle on it, really. And again, it was one that's the first I've seen up close, and I kind of wanted to like it.
It's just not right, is it?
Is it M60?
Yeah. So
even the badge placement doesn't look right.
No.
It's like somebody tacked on the 60 in the end.
There's just stuff doesn't look right about it.
Is that the new the black M badge that they're going with now?
Yeah.
on all the cars.
Black with gold outline. It's a very pimp.
And fake sort of reflectory things going on where you and sort of all these sort of removable panels and stuff going. Is that where the charging ports are on the back of it or something?
I have no idea.
It looks like I'd flipping the Johnny Cab from Total Recall, doesn't it?
It actually does of it. There's also a bit of transformer there going on the back end.
So that's the back end of it. The front is awful. The big grille that we all talk about for the all the current generation of BMWs.
Yeah.
This has got the same big fake grille, but in behind it is almost like 3D reflective. It's
Oh my god.
It needs a set of spacers too.
yeah.
Like BMW are a strange one. Like BMW were leading things with the i3 and stuff like
That's
that.
how it is.
There.
Look at that grille. It's like black and gold, 3D tack.
You'd be good on the road and a lot of fucking wasps chasing you.
It's
That just looks like a honeycomb grill.
awful.
I actually think I've maybe seen one of those on the road. I cannot see the this is a Chinese market thing, isn't it? The
Very much
Chinese
so.
love a
100%.
big snorty nostrily flipping situation.
starting
Got some
price
strange appeal for them, alright.
Starting at what?
£111,000.
Oh, good. People who buy that deserve to be absolutely rinsed.
But they're saving because they don't have to pay for fuel.
Well, this is the other thing at the moment with the price of it. I think we're gonna be looking at a 40p a unit per kilowatt.
Yeah.
For electric. Electric is no longer the at the moment the panacea that everyone thought it would be. So, I don't know.
So the question is, have BMW totally lost their way with styling, or is it the case of in 2 years' time this will look fantastic? We just all have to grow into it.
It's always been the case with BMW stuff, hasn't it?
Well, I don't know. When the E46 was announced, like, it was a good-looking car. Even the first
True.
spy shots of the M3, I was just amazed, blown away by it.
Yeah.
And even the E92 that came after was a bit softer looking, but still a pretty attractive car.
I have warmed to the current M3 and M4, and certainly the new M3 estate car. The Touring looks
Yeah.
first class.
I think I always said at the 3 Series we will become more and more accustomed to that bigger grille, and the M3 in particular does look great. I do like the look of it. A lot of people don't like the big slabby sides and that there, but I think it's a really handsome car, especially I've seen a few of them, the Isle of Man green, and
Beautiful
I think they're
colour.
stunning. I would still have an M3 over an M4 every single day of the week.
Yeah, totally.
Is that gold trim under the mirror as well?
Yep.
I see.
Plastic gold, beautiful.
Lovely.
Absolutely horrendous.
Makes
So-
you feel like a millionaire driving along, I'm sure.
It's a car that I kind of wanted to like, but I couldn't find anything exterior-wise that I would like in it. People used to sort of take the mickey about, the Bentley Bentayga and that there, and it's horrible, and the joke was, it doesn't matter how I'm inside it, you not have to see what it's like outside. This, it's just awful.
But 110 grand, like what had BMW in their ICE range before that was that money? Like a top whack X5.
X5M is around 100 grand. It would have been a couple of years ago, but
Yeah,
wow.
absolutely. We're just looking at more. This is just vomit inducing, these things.
Straight out of the Cupra rule book.
Except the Cupra Born and all the rest, I think is a cool looking wee EV.
It is. It's all the bronze touches and things. They grow on you.
And I really like that Mustang Mach-E. Mm-hmm. I really like it. I
Yeah,
think,
fantastic.
it's- But that, I said, it's just,
No, that's just an abomination.
yeah.
Yeah. BMW, what are they doing?
Well, they are doing something right. It may not be styling, but they've been working on EV batteries, and they've developed this new cylindrical battery tech. I think it's a couple of years off yet, but they're promising a 620 mile range, which is pretty impressive. And in real life driving, that's probably going to be about 500 miles, not 600, but still substantially better than what we're getting nowadays.
See, when I hear cylindrical battery tech, and this is why I wonder why.
Where's it going to go?
I know.
You get these tall cars.
I know, is it just going to be like cylindrical battery tech, and it's like two enormous Duracells?
It can lay on its side, remember? It can lie down. Yeah, apparently something to do with the shape of the battery helps the efficiency. And suddenly it's also got, there's a lot of new tech as well. It's not just the shape that's changing, but If they can crack that and then improve on it, you could looking at a 700, 800 mile range in a few years, which would really change things as EVs go, as long as the charging infrastructure is there.
Look, charging's a big deal. The price per unit's a massive deal.
Yeah.
The miles per kilowatt hour is the big thing as well. Like 4 or 5 is all they can do at the moment. And if it's 40, 50p a kilowatt, it's not much cheaper than running something that does 60 odd miles to the gallon.
No.
Yeah. So that's and the price of them. The price of these cars we're talking about here.
Horrendous.
It's
Absolutely horrendous.
It's frightening. Did you get one sorted yourselves, Gary? I know you were...
Not yet. Dragging on and on. The company car lists that we're looking at keep changing. But we did actually go and get an ID4 out, the Volkswagen ID4 for test. And very impressed with it. It's not a Speedwagon by any means. It's not like a Tesla. You're not going to be blasted back in the seat by it, but very smooth to drive. It's basically the same underneath as the Audi Q4, which is what we originally wanted.
Yep.
But has dropped off the list. So I think we'll probably go for the ID4. Just still hammering out the details and the options list and bits and pieces. But yeah, nice.
I think as a daily driver at the same time, like taking aside the hassle of charging or the cost of charging or the cost of the car, as a daily driver, like electric is just so effortless, you know.
Yeah, again, I was speaking to Pete an hour ago, so I was just about a few different things, and his Tesla's off the road at the minute because he's waiting on tyres. Cannot get tyres. I think there's like a 4-week, 5-week waiting list for whatever kind of size and width he needs on the Tesla. But
he changed the wheels on it, didn't he?
He changed the wheels on it.
What are they, 21 inch or something?
Yeah. But he said he is sick of driving the Porsche. He loves the Porsche, but he's sick of driving it in traffic and everything else. He said he hadn't realised how into the EV kind of way of driving and the effortless commuting that EV driving gives you. And
he's sitting on the clutch all day.
Yeah, he cannot wait to have the Tesla back.
Yeah, unreal. Just shows you. Just shows you. But yeah, it's the cost of them. Look, let's stop talking about EVs and supercars. There's bound to be something more normal.
Yeah, we'll go back to BMW. The Munich BMW Museum celebrating 50 years of M cars. It doesn't feel like 50 years to me, certainly, but just a sign of my age, maybe. The very first one was the 3-litre CSL, the Batmobile, back in 1972.
Of course it was, because I immediately thought 1M.
Yeah.
Or the M1, sorry, the sort of the orange that
like
you've seen them in.
Lotus rip-off type thing.
Yeah.
But they were nice.
But of course the Batmobile, the what was the movie? Have you ever seen Knives Out? The movie, with Daniel Craig
and Chris Evans.
Chris Evans drives. I'm pretty sure he drives he drives a CSL in it, does he? Those things are beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. What's your
half a century?
Yeah. So favorite M car? Well, number one of my favorite M cars is it a proper M car? Is the 850 CSI an M car?
No, probably not. It's got a lot of M car traits and M car bits in it, but it was never officially an M car, so I have to deny that, even though it may feel like one underneath.
Yeah.
For me, I'd probably say the E39 was the pinnacle. You know, that just the M5 and E39 really. Looks, driving ability, smoothness, everything. There's been faster ones since and slower ones before, but I think it just had a sweet spot.
Ross, what do you reckon?
Well, I'm not
E46 M3.
I was going to say
in yellow.
In yellow. I actually love that V10 that came in the M5s, the E60 M5s.
Yeah.
I think it was just, if you could run the risk of the engine not shitting itself and ruining you financially, I think everything about that V10, you know, there's just
the sound of it.
Screams.
Yeah.
I heard a few of them either, you know, using Schnitzer exhaust or decat or whatever, and they were just F1 car sounding. Although people do still say that the E46 was the best ever M car, and I would probably be inclined to agree with them.
Well, the E46 sounded pretty good too. It's always kind of raspy, zingy, top end.
As I say to anybody, they are not the fastest car by any stretch of imagination. They're a nice looking car, but they're 20-year-old 3 Series at this stage.
Yeah.
But they really are, for me, the E46 is a sum of all parts car.
Well, the CSL has to be in the list.
CSL, no doubt about
100%.
it. It's magic. Do you remember Woodcutter's one? The one that got away? It was a magical car.
Like you could easily do a top 5 here because they've had so many good cars. You know, there was the E30 range as well, the M3 Evos and stuff in it.
Well,
the E92.
Even non proper M cars, like there's been some fabulous like M140, M240. Who doesn't love an E30 325i Sport, or you know, all those sorts of you know, those are all fabulous cars. Like I would love it. I've never driven an original E28 M5, but I always loved Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise. Absolutely rinsing them. Yeah, absolutely first class. You know, so I'd love a steer in one of them, but because I've been in
E34, we were out in one time. They were nice.
Mr. Looney's E34
3.6, was it?
Yeah, 3.6, yeah. 315
sensible driving, I'm sure, with Mr. Looney behind him.
Very sensible.
Very slow and steady, as you can imagine. So what's your favourite, Andy?
Well, you see, I haven't driven them all. I tell you,
don't say that fucking hours.
Is this and I'm more querying the question than anything else. Is a Z4M bread van one?
Oh yeah,
it is the M engine.
It's proper classed as an M car. Yeah.
So, a silver one went on Collect Cars recently for about 10 grand.
No way.
Now it was probably a dog, but it only had 100k on it or something like that. It was maybe not particularly nice, but I think it's something, having had, and we have all had the E46 M3s here, I thought, well, if I'd maybe want to go back and have something like that again, and the Z4 platform, something a wee bit different. So
there's one we talked about before. Remember the
Z8,
which actually wasn't an M car, but like it really should have been. It had
the M5
engine. It was really unique.
Yeah, so maybe because I fancy one, a Z4M bread van which has the E46 M3 engine.
See, the hairdresser in me, if I was going for a Z4 with the S54 engine, it would have to be the convertible.
Go wash your mouth.
I think if I was going to buy a Z4 convertible, I'd buy the newer shape with the M55 turbo.
The convertible is nice, but I think
Roadster is better than the coupe. The first YouTube link.
It does look quite neat, but I think the thing about the coupe is it has this kind of bubble ridge roof, which is a bit 60s looking.
Yeah. See that coupe in the middle in the blue? Is what type of blue? Is that like Montreal blue or something?
Blue,
yeah, what type of blue is that? That is just beautiful.
Is it Le Mans blue?
Is it Le Mans blue or something like that? It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Funny you're talking about the bubble in the roof. Do you know do you remember the wee Peugeot RCZ? It had the bubble in the roof. I loved the look of them there.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. See your hairdresser sentimentality there. I think the Z4 would be the one. What was
the AC Cobra that had the fixed roof? Wasn't Daytona, was it?
Oh,
maybe it was. I always think that the
how do we get from M cars to pick your favourite M car? It's an AC Cobra.
My chain of thought here. I always thought that the Daytona one, there was kind of hints of the Z4M taken from it.
Yeah.
Something just about the curved drift and the long bonnet, but I suppose you get that in a lot of them 60s coupes.
You know, I think that's just it's really cool. It's a classic, and the prices haven't caught up. Well, I don't know what if you wanted to buy. If I wanted to go out and buy an 03, 04 E46 M3 manual with 100k on it and not rotten, what sort of money would you have to give for 15 to 20 grand
more?
You're
talking about 15 grand for a decent one,
yeah. So actually similar sort of money for Z4M bread fan.
There's a question now: Z4M versus the Z3M.
Yeah, Z3M is unreal looking, but
how different.
It's
so ugly. You have to love it.
It is like it was never designed to have a roof from day one, and they had a kind of budget to make it fit, but it does work, and they get such good reviews.
Yeah. No, I love. And then funny, looking down there, I see a picture of the 1M.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of forgotten about, doesn't it?
But
you can see these articles about M cars and things.
Yeah,
they pop up all the time saying they're the modern day CSL.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Supposedly just spectacular, but they were like everything's a classic out of the gate. You can't buy a flipping bog standard Polo these days without being worth 10 grand more than you paid for it. But back when it came out in 2011, they all sold out at retail, and then they just immediately started increasing in value. And I don't
But they don't seem to get a lot of press. The M2 got much more press than they ever did.
And I don't understand why they suddenly got, now obviously great powertrain and great balance and all the rest, but that degeneration of 1 Series was okay. It was nice,
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
They weren't the prettiest.
No, and yet, don't get me wrong, I would sell my granny for one. Absolutely class. So 50 years of M cars. That's just
It's hard to be fast.
So we all agree then the E46 is the best M car.
About that.
Sharp intake of breath. I haven't had an M car in a day or two. I would love one.
They've certainly made more good ones than bad ones. They've over the 50 years, there's been a lot of success there.
You could never have gone wrong buying an M car, really. Pretty much, unless you bought a yellow one. Anyway, what else is happening?
We're going to talk about the MOT situation in Northern Ireland, or the lack of MOTs in Northern Ireland, and how impossible it is to get one. I went through it myself recently. Start of September, my car was due. Went to get a date a month beforehand. Like, I knew a month beforehand was actually running a bit late, but I figured I'll get a cancellation. And it took me about 2.5 weeks, and like the closest I could get was January, and sometimes February and March of next year. That's
mental.
Utterly ridiculous.
That's mental.
Same.
I heard actually as well that, was it the case that you could only book 3 months ahead, and then they extended it to 6 months or something?
Yeah.
That people were literally going on the website and they're getting no dates, like for everywhere, no dates
Ever.
Yeah, forever. Like that's just
It's a joke of a thing. I'm the same as Guy. I was booking the M3. Its MOT was up end of September, and I was the same. I booked a month, 5 weeks before, and 15th, 16th of January is my date, and that was the first one I could get.
Yeah. That's led to a situation now where people are literally driving over the country to get an MOT, and like I've always had years where you just have to go somewhere else. You drive to almost from Belfast to get it done or whatever, but it's become the norm now almost. People are happy to drive 200 miles just to go and get an MOT somewhere.
£30 for MOT, £60 a diesel to go and
return journey.
Yeah.
To go and do it. That's frightening. And see, at the same time, and I know some people are arguing we should have this. It should be a system like England. Private garages should do it, but I don't know. My experience.
Well, that'll be abused.
That's my experience of private garages.
It's already abused in Northern Ireland. Getting private MOTs from England, it would be even worse if it was done over here. But something needs to be done about it. Like, that's the long and the short of it.
Oh, totally.
But what is going to be done about it?
Well, I thought that the MOT is a fairly extensive test. I know it doesn't take that long, but sure they could have a streamlined version just to get cars through, check the important things, the tyres, the things that really need to be checked.
Yeah.
The more critical parts of the test, I guess I would say.
Or put newer cars, give them another year's grace or something like that, just to ease the system.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And no doubt they've thought it, but they were snookered since the whole problem with the lifts.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've ever recovered from it, and it's just going to worse.
Surely our good Parliament up in Stormont, they'd be able to. Oh, hang on.
Hold on a second.
Somebody's been ideas, even setting up some kind of temporary stations just to deal with the backlog, and once you get through that, that'll be back to normal.
If you worked for the test centres, if you're the chief executive of the Department for MOTs, we want you on this show and you can tell us all the problems you're having and
do you think we could get one? Nolan can't get him on. Do you think we can get him on?
Well, that's true. We're much nicer than Nolan.
Definitely.
And our snacks are probably equivalent to Nolan's.
We share them.
Yeah.
Nolan doesn't get around as much as Andy. So.
That's true. Couldn't get wedged into an MC20.
Or Z4.
Allegedly.
Ross, you're very quiet over there, not talking about your M3. And what apart from what about your diff in your M3? We were talking about this before. Did you get your diff in?
Yep, so diff finally after the ball ache of taking something over from England nowadays. So if anybody hasn't been through the hassle of this, long story very short is if something has to come in to this country on a pallet, you have to go through traders, has to go through customs, has to go through absolutely everything. It's a complete handling, so it is. So I was able to, now even though I've got, so to bring something on a pallet, you need to have an EORI number or an XI number because we're based in Northern Ireland. No problem for me because I have mine through work. But if I'm buying off you as a private seller over in England, you obviously don't have one. Talk about a shit show of a thing. So I was able to bypass that by using UPS, who will carry up to 40 kilos. No problem at all. So a 40 kilo box, they were able to bring it over to me.
Poor fella from UPS doing a crazy walk to the death.
Thing. Well, it gets better. So I paid for a 48-hour delivery with UPS, and it was grand. It was about maybe 60 or 70. I can't even remember what it was, but it was less than 40 quid. And then for another 60 or 70 pound, you can insure it for the guaranteed value. UPS made a slight mess up on the label, and it was treated then as an import from USA. So my 48-hour delivery took them 19 working days to get to me, and that was only after I was able to get onto UPS in Belfast.
And you've $900 of customs to pay as well.
Went through x-rays, went through this, that and the other. So a complete handling, but yes, we've got the diff, and mechanic was speaking to him. Everything's hunky-dory. He's obviously had the old diff out. Thankfully, my M3 currently isn't suffering from the RACP. You know, that all M3s will, and not even all M3s, all 3 series of that E46 shape have the crack in the back cradle kind of thing.
Subframe, yep.
Subframe. So at this moment in time, mine is clean and clear and is a clean bill of health. So we've got the diff stuck into it. When it was being done, one of the springs fell out.
Nice. You going felt spec, were you? We're going to see you on one of those PS&I pages where with a torch underneath.
Right on Spar.
2 cut springs, and you can see the wire out of them tires.
So thankfully, Davey and Procar to the rescue, a phone call, and 2 days later he had a proper set of buybacks in again with 5-year warranty, so it was great. So diff's in, springs are in, car's basically ready to come back, and can't get MOT.
Nightmare.
But hey-ho. The joys of
Have you driven it yet with the new diff on it?
No, I was supposed to have it ready this evening, but the mechanic just didn't have it all the time.
Oh man, that's going to transform the way that thing drives, because they are a very long geared car.
Very long geared.
So it'll just transform it.
So really looking forward to it. So hopefully,
is there a different ratio on this stuff?
Yeah, so the standard one I think is about 3.68 or 3 point, whatever it is anyway. The new one is 4.1, which according to Pete Moore, he's a geek about these things and he knows all the ratios and blah blah blah, but he showed that the theoretical top speed with the standard diff was like 193 miles an hour and blah blah blah. The theoretical top speed with the 4.1 diff in it takes it down to like 165, 170-ish, but the acceleration through the gears is
the in gear
difference.
Is going to be like, I'm trying to think, they do over 100 mile an hour third gear, those cars do. So like if it brings it down to like something sensible like 90.
Yeah,
Leptons obviously, because I've never done that sort of speed in life
ever. It was Armwood Street Racer. He had a race M3 E46, and he had a couple of different diffs. And he said to me, he says, when you put the 4.1 in, he says, Ross, it's going to be, you think you have an extra 100 horsepower. It just transforms the whole drive. So yeah, I have it, but unfortunately I haven't driven it yet. But that'll be for our next podcast.
Absolutely class.
Take it down for a rattle.
Just keep checking the MOT side every day. F5.
Fantastic.
The other thing, talking about the M3, Rennis had ran a fantastic photo shoot down at the Ulster Aviation Society. So I had the M3 down at, along with loads of other RMSers and loads of other people. It was all actually for charity to raise money for a defib machine. And he got some fantastic photographs, obviously with the tornado down at the Air Museum. The culmination of trying to raise money for one defib machine, one of the other people involved in the photo shoot, they got onto their company who they work for, and they had 5 defib machines sponsored, which is going to some local nursery schools and that there, and playgroups. So, like, he's an awesome guy, so he is.
That's
just
fantastic.
So well respected, well thought of, and just showing how the car community comes together when there's something to be done, when, you know, it was just amazing to see the museum for the first place. What an awesome place. And if you're interested in planes and stuff like that at all, helicopters, everything in the museum has got a tie to Northern Ireland, so it's worth a visit if nothing else, because it's just really, really cool. But I said, what he was able to do by getting like 30 or 35 people together, we all got fantastic photographs of the cars in like a location that nobody else can get. And what he done at the end of it by getting the money together for 5 defib machines was amazing. He's one hell of a guy.
The pictures are class. Stick some photos in the
thread,
in the thread, because it's spectacular.
The other thing, again talking about Rennis and Pete and that there, we done something that we haven't done in a long time, and that was just get up on a Sunday morning and go for a random drive. Just a crowd of us together. I had the M3 out, Pete was out in the Porsche Cayman, Rennis was out in the S2000. There was a friend of Rennis's from Scotland, Alan. He was over in an FD2, which, by the way, what an amazing... Have any of these guys ever driven one?
Long time ago. Yeah.
I couldn't get over it. The sound of it, obviously, with the VTEC going, but the acceleration through the gears in that FD2... Now, I think they share a lot of similarities between the likes of the S2000 and that there, but the gearbox, again, something similar to what I'm doing with the M3, is a much shorter ratio, and how it snapped through gears. Like, he was sitting with cars 100 plus horsepower more than him easily, because it was just all about the drive.
Yeah, just keep it on the boil all the time.
Yeah,
That's
but
what you have to do.
See, just 5 or 6 of us going out for a drive on an early Sunday morning when the roads were empty, not breaking any limits, not doing anything silly, but just kind of convoying a wee bit and going for a drive and meeting up for a cup of coffee and spinning then over the back roads up over Dundrod and that there, going for another cup of coffee, and just it really clears the mind. And you know, we're all talking about cars with 1,000 horsepower here, you know, with SUVs. One of the guys, Mark, he was out in a GTD Golf, and he drove the same roads as we did, at similar speeds as we did, and he had every bit as much fun as we did. But there's just something about, so it really, you know, it's just...
It's not so much the car, it's just the
not
occasion.
The car, it's the occasion, the company, and it's something that if you haven't done it in a while yourselves or any of the listeners, speak to a couple of mates, jump in a car and just go for a needless drive.
I must do, like, it has been too long, certainly since I've done it. You've probably done it recently, Andy. You go to a lot of things, but...
Yeah, well, but not necessarily something like that. Just something, you know, it's not a particular thing. Like, the cars and coffees and all are fantastic.
Cars and coffees are great, and there's normally good convoys out there to it. But this was like literally, Rennis had dropped a message, said, guys, there's a friend of mine over from England. He's a big petrol head. He's over in his FD2, and he's fancy meeting up tomorrow morning to go for a drive. So it was kind of like Avengers Assemble, and we all just said, you know something, let's just go for it. And
get the latex on, away we go.
No, it was Saturday night. But meeting up, even at Sprucefield in the morning, you know, the amount of people who came over, because, you know, there's 5 or 6 nice, now they're all, you know, at this stage they're probably 18 or 19-year-old cars, you know, but they're kind of classic cars, and they're noisy, they smell of petrol, but there's good fun, and people are coming over and snapping photographs of them and going, oh, what are you guys doing?
Yep.
Just going for a drive.
Just out for a run.
Randomly when we were out then, so we stopped at Dundrod, up the Ulster GP circuit, and we were taking a few photographs and that there, and there's some guy in a white wheeltail Cosy came past, and he slowed down and goes, what are you doing? I said, just here, man, for a couple of photographs. So he pulled in, grabbed a couple of photographs, and then took off like a scalded cat. And you know, he was just out the same thing, Sunday morning for a drive, and jumped in with us, followed us for a few miles. He peeled off one way, we went off our own way, and it was fantastic.
Like that sort of thing will die with our generation. You know, out with a noisy vehicle that you've kept good in the garage all week, and you want to get out and get the head shard and out with the lads.
And see that head shard thing, that was exactly what it was. See, just going out and not thinking about anything other than just going for a spin. And I said, we weren't driving fast, but we were just driving, and it was just, every single one of us, when we got back there, we were talking about how good the roads were, and you know, it was just a few nice twisties and that there, and accelerating out through a town, and there was just something cool about it, and every one of us would grin at the end of it. So it was something that's really good to just get up and do once in a while for no reason other than meeting up with your mates, doing what we used to do 20 years ago, Andy. Like, I can remember going to different cruises and that there. Do you remember you had the wee red Corolla at the time?
Oh, absolutely.
But like, again, none of us were flying machines at that stage, but we were just driving, and needlessly driving somewhere to meet up at Nuts Corner, and we're all standing at the side of the road talking shit about who's done this, that and the other, and K&N intakes and tights over the back lights to darken them.
Well, that type of thing defines why we're car enthusiasts, not just people who drive them from A to B.
Yeah.
You know, you do it for fun and for enjoyment.
Yeah. So, which is why we love doing this, because we just and hopefully the 3 people that listen to us enjoy it as well. But
our wives,
you know, just talking shit about cars and
you know, actually, I've had quite a few people in the shop and that they're chatting to me about it, and they said, "Do you know something, Ross? Really, like, we're enjoying the podcast because it's it's just lads talking crap and slagging each other and, you know, just having a bit of fun. And really...
Well, no, I'm here to outdo you all, by the way, every single...
Well,
you know, that's all I'm here
you
for.
do that.
Yeah, I'm trying my best here, trying my best.
But yeah, it was just... It really reminded me why we're doing what we're doing. Like, I built a business on something I loved. You know, we're doing this podcasting over a shared love over something that we all grew up with, and it kind of reminds you why we do what we're doing.
Why do it for the jam donuts that you bring every time?
Which haven't been opened. Gary, your 15s are fabulous there. I was
very much.
making good use of the mute
I can
button
see there's
there.
quite a few gone.
I was getting them horsed into me. Absolutely first class. There was something else I actually meant to mention, and that is that Mr. Riley here cannot help himself but get published left, right, and centre. So it's in the current Evo. It's in the September or October.
Yeah, latest issue.
Issue of
Just a small letter, nothing else.
a small letter.
Nothing to write home about.
But every single time you write in, you get it published. I'm pretty sure, because they're always absolutely awesome.
I do write often. That's the problem. And I'm starting to feel like, you know, that there was this thing back in probably the 80s and 90s, you know, when people retired and had nothing to do and they just settled in, wrote letters of complaint and stuff like that there.
Reader's
Did
Digest.
Reader's Digest and their local
Reader's
papers.
Reader's Digest.
I was always complaining, but I feel like I'm starting to get the gut of Evo. There's another letter from Riley coming in. So, yeah, no, just I always read the articles over and over, and I read the letters, and more often than not, I feel like I've something to say about them, you know, and I've written articles for RMS, as you know, so I tend to put pen to paper. Rather than just,
and we want more of that, because the stuff you not only in this particular instance had you written the article, but you also were is it letter of the month or something like that? So you got a watch. Do you have the watch with you?
I don't have it yet, yeah, but
Because you went
Ian Everley, I think the editor
Yeah.
or managing editor, he emailed me the other day to ask me just for my address to confirm it. So it's on its
Fantastic.
way.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So I'll do the obligatory watch pose in the car.
So not only that, but the letter you wrote was that was Richard Porter was giving off about a Zaga.
Yeah.
And
He'd moved house, hadn't he? He wanted a new house, and there was an AGA, and he just did not see the point of it. And he said he was going to get rid of it and stuff. And then I have my parents had an AGA, and I loved it. So it just something clicked in my head, and I wrote a letter in about it, and kind of made it something about cars. And
It was a really good, because I was flying over to Manchester last week, and I've got Evo on the iPad, and I'm sitting flicking through, and I was like, "This Gary Riley shit. I wonder is it? I wonder." And then
Asshole.
dropped me a message in, and it was. I have to give you credit. It was a really, really well written letter, and it was very emotive.
Yeah, and it's part of the whole conversation, is it old versus new and all the rest, because Porter had actually written an article 2 Evos back or something about giving off about someone's house being like there was no switches in the walls and all the rest. It was just an iPad to control everything. You know, like what do they do as a job? They're a car
he
interior
loves the
designer.
old stuff. He's always talking about Land Rovers and old Jaggers and things like that there. So he's definitely got an appreciation for it.
So what are the chances that you write the letter and the same week I'm actually talking to the man? So that was how I said my mate says you're an agaphobic, you know.
And yet says you're a dick.
And so he was laughing about it. So yeah, fabulous. Keep writing. I want to see some of your stuff some more.
I'm determined to get 2 watches out of them, so I'll try my best.
Fantastic. And back to S2000s. Well, we've both owned S2000s.
Yep.
My wife had one for about 3 years, and you had one for
Probably summer period of time, actually. Yeah, modified it a bit, and I can't remember what I did. It was that long ago.
Well,
I brought over the roof from America. Remember the
spoon roof or something? Was it?
Mugen roof.
Mugen.
That's what it was, and then wheels and bits and pieces lowered and all the usual. You know, great cars though.
They're
Absolutely brilliant engine in them.
I was lucky enough that Sunday when we went out for a drive then, so I had to drive in Rennis's car then, and I could not get over just how tight, how point to point it was. The gearbox, the throw was just so short on it.
That's right on your arm too, because you rested on the tunnels raised in those. Yeah,
and as soon as it hits VTEC, it's just amazing.
Oh, it's nothing like VTEC.
There's nothing like it. There really isn't. I got out of his S2000 and into the M3 going, this thing's a fucking boat. Like it was just like how you were cocooned into the cockpit of it. It was just, It was beautiful. I loved it. So it
And they've aged really well.
Oh, they are just iconic.
Gorgeous car.
Beautiful.
Even totally standard. I think if you buy a facelift one in a kind of bright colour, like that photo we've up there at the moment, a red one, I just think that they still look great for their age.
The red's lovely. The blue's lovely as well. Hard to get now. I think you need to give really strong money to get a nice one.
Yeah.
But they're a car that they're not losing money on them now.
No. Although I will caveat that with, we're rose-tinted glasses. They're not that fast, says it sort of quietly, but it's...
Not, but there's never a way about that. It's like every VTEC and every Type R, they're always lacking torque, and, a comparable turbo car would go a lot quicker nowadays, but just it's the fun of driving it. It's stretching that engine out to 9,000 revs and pushing it along.
Absolutely. Something I would love to get a drive in again is a DC2. And so someone had said about JDM cars, and we'll touch it maybe about Hondas, and we'll get onto the rear-wheel drive stuff, which I will never stop talking about at some other stage. But we've owned lots of Hondas, but
not too many.
My Integrity Type R DC2, what I have just very distinct memories of it just blowing me away every time I drove it, and felt so special.
And that's
so
why you
raw.
consistently see them in articles that reference the best front-wheel drivers of all time.
Yeah, true.
They're always in the top 2 to 3 at least.
Yeah, they're some of all parts car. They're not the fastest car, but they're not supposed to be. Yeah. And I couldn't get over just how direct that steering was.
Yeah, it was always the balance. It handled it really well, and they probably, I haven't driven one of the new Civic Type R's, the turbo ones that we're talking about earlier, but I feel like from reading about it, certainly, that they've nailed it with that as well. Mm-hmm. They had 2 turbo models. They had the one that came out just before it. Remember, it was slightly more chunkier shape, and then the longer hatchback came out, and the first one probably not quite as well received. I remember my brother drove one, and he felt they were very, very hard on the road and very rigid, but the other one seems to be a bit better balanced. So it'll be interesting to see this new model coming out now, if it does as good a job. It's got the same engine. Yeah. And I think the same guy who worked on the chassis for the one before it is doing this one as well.
And they're about 300 and something horse, are they?
Up a little bit, probably about 325 or 330, something like that. So quite a lot still for a front-wheel drive hatch.
Sure.
Essentially.
So I think we'll wrap this up shortly here, guys. Because we've more to cover. There's some good questions here in the forum, which we will come back to. There's a bit of chat about drag racing. So, Mr. 56 Oval, if you're listening, I'm going to be sending you. There's going to be a PM sliding its way into your inbox, because I am hearing great things about the Straightliners NI, which is fantastic.
Sliding into your DMs.
Sliding into the DMs. We'll come back to some of these questions. Are fantastic. Favourite car from each decade. Biggest Code Brown moment.
That's a great term.
Isn't it? Code Brown. Code Brown is fantastic. What makes a garage queen or king? Insert reference not to offend a snowflake, Johnny says. We'll come back. Favourite flavour of Monster, and this is in reference to me having a newborn at home. And I tell you what, I stay away from that stuff. We're having caffeine this evening. My sleep is
jittery,
a nightmare as it is. Never mind.
Your sleep never returns to normal.
No,
you just get used to waking up early, and it sticks with you.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. I was up at 6 o'clock this morning. I was in work about an hour early, because I was like, yeah, my whole and before I would have slept a midday, no problem.
Even when the rest of the family, faffs off for the weekend, somewhere and you're left on your own, you still tend to waken. Or I do anyway, 7 o'clock in the morning, because you're just used to it.
Oh my God.
Lions don't work.
Yeah. Do you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way.
You wouldn't.
Oh, no, definitely not.
You wouldn't.
Well, do you know what? I would have a friggin' Lotus in the driveway. It has yet to appear.
Monster decals up the side.
See, before we go, there's one more thing that you just need to know about. We should be more organising about this, but I'll tell you, there's an event coming up. It is this weekend, Saturday the 24th of September in the 2022s, and that is called Deutsch Collective, and that is run by GTI NI, and it is down at Scarva House, which, looking on the map, is like near sort of Banbridge, south of Portadown, somewhere like that, near Loch Brickland. So, and do you know what? I haven't even read the details about the show. I just know it's run by GTI NI, so it's probably an awesome venue. It's probably going to have really laid back atmosphere, probably good food, probably amazing cars. So just go.
It's Titanic Dubs is normally the season closer, but
Yes.
there's a lot of work happening down there at the minute in Titanic Dubs. So the guys have been scouring the country and they found another really cool location. As Nigel himself said, it's kind of along with the Castlewellan vibe. Somewhere it's just really relaxed. And I'm going to be there obviously this weekend. Cannot wait, because everything else about it just looks what you would expect from what those GTI and I guys do. It's just a really lovely, relaxed atmosphere. Cool cars, cool people, good food, a bit of fun, a bit of crack.
Yeah.
Us all doing what we do.
Yeah.
Super.
And on that note, I think we'll pull this into the Dundrod pits for a few photos. As usual, like and subscribe and do all the things we're supposed to be telling you to do, so you can hear us again. We're everywhere at RMS Motoring and on rmsmotoring.com. Ask us any questions on the forum is the best place for it. There's a thread there for it. And thanks for joining us. Remember, there's definitely not a warranty like a JLR product that I was looking at buying. This was sold as seen.